Mr. Ranger. How you doing there? Up on the ramps. It's because you just got some new gas tank straps on there, didn't you? What's that? It's all wrapped up? Well, that is the 4-liter single overhead cam engine that belongs in this Ranger over here. But that engine is having the cam tensioner, or timing chain tensioner, is losing its tensioning ability, and it does that rattly noise at the startup that we don't want happening. And I checked the front one and it was okay, and I pulled out the back one. We're not going to be able to see it, but it's way up under there, and the back one had no pressure on it, just flopping parts in there. So I'm assuming that's the one. I'm gonna pull the saran wrap off and check under that valve cover when the weather's not so snowy and rainy and snowy and rainy and snowy and rainy. We'll get back to that, but in the meantime, over here, oh, look at that. There's a 4-liter single overhead cam engine in here. Oh yeah, get up there, buddy. Now this motor was my parts motor. I'd stolen the thermostat housing off it before, but it's reunited again. And I stole the alternator. But this alternator is reunited. Oh, never mind, not reunited. It's from my 3-liter Ranger motor that was that one's motor, but it's no longer in there either. So we swapped this motor just to see how she works after it's been, it was hydro locked when I got it because it was in a rollover and the cylinders were full of oil. And I didn't know that. So I turned the key to try and turn it on, and I blew the starter right off it. One little whack, tick, gone. So I assumed that I didn't do too bad a harm to it since it instantly blew off. But I didn't necessarily give the motor the greatest care after that. It's been about 6 or 7 years since I removed it from its home in the rolled over red Crunch Ranger. And then it sat in my mom's garage for a couple of years, which that ain't too bad. But then I moved out and it sat just right in my driveway. The throttle body wasn't even bolted on, it was just sitting there. And I'm surprised this thing wasn't full of water, but it had about 1 liter of oil left in it. Now that I found out just a day or so ago, I didn't know it was that low. But it had about 1 liter or so left in her. And we got it in here. We found 2 misfires when it fired up. Which one of them was one of these guys, I think it was this one, was not plugged on. Did you see that? Did I point in the wrong spot? Right there, that guy there. Was not plugged on all the way. That was misfire number 1. And then number 2 was one on this side. I'll have to show you after. I think it's in this one now. Has an old, you can see the rusty bottom on the spark plug. That's an old Motocraft plug. And then that one's cleaner because it's an auto light or something like that. Wherever it was, it's the one that died. And I used my heat gun on the manifold there, found out the one wasn't firing. I switched it to a different one, and then that one was cold instead, so I put a new spark plug in, and she runs like she's supposed to. So that's why we got all brand new spark plugs and brand new wires for it. The coil pack I think is fine. It revs right up, no stutters, no nothing at all. So we're gonna have to get in here and contort our fingers and hands and arms and get them spark plugs out of there, put some freshies in. That oil on there was penetrating oil that I've sprayed on there. I haven't really ran it very much since getting it in here, but we got the spark plugs, we got the wires, and then we got that guy to replace the stud and nut on there. But the only one I broke out on doing this engine and the other, so I got 7 out of 8, broke that one, welded a 1-inch nut on it, which worked really good because it got a lot of weld. It was really hot, and I was able to thread that out of there after. So we got a new Motorcraft one, all Motorcraft plugs and wires, and we're gonna get in there and freeze our fingers off because it's, I think, minus 13 Celsius today, and we're gonna change them. Then we're gonna get the mud guards back in here. Perhaps we will spray some more oil or fluid film or some kind of stuff to prevent the rust, because we do drive in the salt here in Ontario. They just get it out of Windsor and put it right on our roads. You can see probably on this truck, she's gonna be salty on the bottom. All salty everywhere. So we gotta do our best to prevent the salt from eating away the whole pickup. That is one of the, probably the main death of these Rangers, is the rust. We get the rotten cab corners, and then the doors will go, and then your rockers will go, and oh yeah, well, you know, your muffler will go. Look at that. Ain't that a beauty of a connection there? We're gonna fix that too. And then we got other things like, what's up with my cross members, dude? They're missing a little bit of the bottom, I think. No biggie. We'll get in there. We'll weld some steel in there, and it'll be just like new. Oh, we got the gas tank straps. That's what we're looking at here. Gas tank straps. We just put some new ones on there. And is it that one? Yeah, see in there? The hole was rotted right out. So that's a 3/4 inch washer, I think, that I bent and cut a notch in and used it, filled the gap in. And that'll hold our gas tank up. Brand new straps though. Brand new fuel filter. But we're gonna put the skid plate back on too. We just gotta refurbish that. There's that dog again. This Ranger, it's been sitting since last fall or the end of the summer or something like that, because of that ticky problem and the gas tank falling off. But she runs good now. I did just change the fuel filter. That was probably the most turnovers it's done, but oh yeah, I did just change the fuel filters, but we don't hear no rattly noise coming from up there, which very nice. So yeah, we got all these things, keep the mice out of here, and I haven't seen any mice poop, so good to go there. So I'm just gonna let her warm up a little bit. You can hear that exhaust is leaking, but that's what we're gonna fix here. I'm just gonna get a little heat in it so my hands are not frozen. I have a new stud to put in the end of the manifold on this side. One of them that got broken during the engine swap. I already removed it by welding a nut onto the end of the stud. So now we're just putting a new stud in. There I started it with the vice grips and tried threading it by the end a little bit here with the vice grips. They only did so much, but it was enough to get the stud into the end of the manifold so it would stay up there anyways. And then I grabbed the nut that goes on it, threaded it in just a tiny bit more. It didn't go very much because the nut started to thread onto the stud. So I had some extra nuts. So went to the house here and then we grab an extra nut. So with the extra nut, I'm able to double up the nut on the stud and jam them together. And then I can drive the stud the rest of the way into the manifold. There we go. Stud replaced and tightened. We got two issues. The flanges going up are like this instead of like this because of my connection over there at my tailpipe is all mangled and everything was disconnected and it needs a hanger to go up where it's supposed to be up at. And I didn't get the stud in all the way and the bolt is just pinched on the flange and there's still teeny little bit. I gotta get the stud up there for it to work properly. So, you know, we'll adjust it. We'll make it work, right? It's all it takes. Some adjusting, some making it work. Well, that sounded worse than the first time. But I can't be having exhaust leaks like that right at the manifolds. Those will set off my O2 sensors, have them reading wrong, and I'll be getting a lean code, which we don't want because I got an SCT tuner, the X4. I bought it for my other Ranger when I did an engine swap in it, but this Ranger is a little bit more tunable, has a little more options on there. So I want to mess with that in the future. So we're gonna crack this loose, double up the nuts again, really drive it tight, and get rid of that exhaust leak. On the passenger side manifold, I'm having a little bit of difficulty with one of the nuts. So I had to go to the garage and get another ratchet set up on the half-inch ratchet because I wasn't able to find my 3/8 drive swivel. So we got a half-inch ratchet and swivel, and I'm going to try a few different angles here till I get the right one, and we'll get that loosened and get it lifted up to the proper angle. Pressing on it here, it's still too tight. It's more flexing and not moving, so gotta get it looser. Studs loosened up. I'm able to hold the Y pipe up in the air and in the proper position with my knee while I tighten up all the studs. There's supposed to be an exhaust hanger back here where I'm holding it up with my knee, but of course it's rotted off there. But I think somewhere around here I got a little bit of half-inch round bar or something like that laying around, so we'll weld a little piece on there so when we build the rest of the exhaust out to the tailpipe, it'll be all supported nicely the way it's supposed to.